I had parents that stayed together that were wildly dysfunctional, loved me to death, wildly dysfunctional. And, you know, they used to call me Quiz Whiz and Waterfalls, sorry. Quiz Whiz because I asked a lot of questions.
Right.
But Waterfalls because every time I lost a basketball game, I cried.
Really?
Right? Yeah, highly sensitive.
Highly sensitive.
So like
that's a superpower.
to the point where like people my age were calling me Waterfalls. You know, I was a competitive basketball player. When I lost, I couldn't take it, Joe. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you have a personality now that I'm a mother of 2 kids. There are some people that just are empaths and just absorb what's going on around them. And I definitely was that child.
So, you know, it's always interesting. And for me, I love relationship capital because you don't know when it's going to come into play and when you could have really cool conversations like we're going to have today, yet very informative and very educational. And there's no doubt some of the content that you're going to hear for you folks that check us out, and thank you so much for being a part of our channels, it's going to be impactful for you as well. Whether it's you, a family member, a cousin, anybody you know, you're going to gain some really good intel today. So stay tuned. You may want to grab a pen and piece of paper because it's really about getting educated. And sometimes it's like, for me, it's hard to read a book, but I love watching videos and I love, you know, hearing different opinions about different things. But also the biggest thing for me, and especially what we want to bring to you good folks, is turning decades into days by getting really good information, right? So with that being said, I have 2 guests today. One is Lisa Becker. What's up, Lisa? How you doing?
Hey, Rob.
It's great to see you. I first met Lisa in my 10 by 10 when I was doing the Unblinded, you know, really kind of creating ecosystem mergers. Lisa and I happen to live probably about a mile from each other. We have a joint friend, Carolyn DeSena, by the way, major shout out CD. And I was always just like impressed with not only what she had to talk about, her journey and her story, but also her desire to make a presence and have her impact felt with people and really being able to share your information. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited about it. And with that, we have my man, Joe Davis.
How you doing, Rob?
So thanks. Joe, everybody, he handles all of Epic's clients' health insurance. And he has a very, very good, solid book of business with a lot of people around him where he could integrate and coordinate through Benefit Mall and some other strategies on how to really get you the best. And this, you don't have to be in New Jersey to get with Joe, to be able to get the best kind of pricing, but also the craftiest and really kind of strategize on how to really maximize your out-of-pocket cost, right? So
correct.
Joe's a great guy. You know, some people came in my world and Joe would vet them for me. You know, we don't mention any names or anything, but Rob, he's good. But I don't know about that one, that kind of thing. And that's important when you have business to be able to make sure that you have trusted teammates around you. And Joe is one of those guys. And I got a text from Lisa a couple weeks ago about what we're going to talk about. And it was so high level for me. I know my strengths. And I said, you know what? I said, why don't I connect you and Joe and we can do this together, right? And that's why we're here right now. Yeah, I'm so excited about it. Joe, thank you so much for being here, brother.
Anytime.
Yeah. Man. By the way, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how would they do it?
Well, you can just email me or cell 732-687-3247. Super easy email, joe@bmpg.net. And I'm an open book, so let's have a conversation.
Big Joe Davis, everybody, former quarterback. So, Lisa, let me ask you a question. Where are you from?
Shoot. Originally from?
Yes.
Ohio.
We're going to go back.
We're going to go back.
We're going to go way back.
Born in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I do like a lot of business with Lafayette Life. And that's
really?
Like, they like flew in on a private jet to meet me for lunch right around the corner.
Wow.
So I'm now remember, I'm a Steeler fan.
Oh, okay.
But all of a sudden, like I have Cincinnati all around me right now in a way. Even that picture I showed you of St. Thomas, it was a trip with all those guys.
Cincinnati, well, first of all, you know, Ohio peeps are just solid.
You guys haven't won a championship.
So, no, peeps in terms of like values and
Midwestern?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Love it. And that's why you go to the West Coast of Florida.
That is why.
Interesting.
West Coast.
I love it. So how long were you in Cincinnati? Like what was your before you?
So hopped around a bit. So Cincinnati, believe it or not, I used to live in Saudi Arabia.
Really? What'd your dad do?
My dad worked for the government.
Was he like CIA, Jack Bauer?
Almost that cool. Not quite, but yeah.
Like almost Jack
I
Bauer?
can't talk about it. No.
Okay, that's cool.
No, it's all good. No. So we were in Saudi Arabia for about 2.5, 3 years. And then we went to Jersey. We've been in Jersey ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what age were you in Saudi Arabia?
Until 4.5.
Okay. So you
And
don't.
then,
So you've been here since like 7 in New Jersey.
In New Jersey, I moved into down the shore, Manaloking at almost 5 years old.
Okay, and that's been
Pretty much ever since.
okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And when you got to Jersey, do you have any siblings?
I do. I have an
Okay.
older brother.
So you're all right. So you're the youngest. So now you're in Jersey and you're going through grammar school. What was those early years like for you? Because I think this is important in your messaging now. So I always like to
Yeah.
kind of tap into where it was
So
back in
I
the
had
day.
a very interesting family. My mom was born and raised in Italy, so I had a super, super tight knit Italian family.
Okay.
My parents divorced when I came back to the States at 4.5.
Was there like plastic on the couch in your mom's house?
Oh, total plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
like
understand
newspapers
yeah.
under my grandfather's feet when he took his nap in the
Good
afternoon.
meatballs though?
Fantastic
Yes.
meatballs.
Great.
So anyway, so I grew up in this like very traditional unit of a family with divorced parents, which back in the 80s, early 80s was not exactly like the easiest thing, right?
Yep.
So I contribute a lot of my, I don't know, firmness, stubbornness, also strong will to my single mom, Italian, kind of bred mom. And so I grew up in a family though with a lot of love, but like also a little bit of drama. So then when you fast forward,
Was there weekend like splits?
there wasn't. He actually lived out of the state and then went back to Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So I really, my whole unit was my mom for the most part. And this, we had a big Italian family with cousins and stuff. So I had a wonderful childhood, but there was definitely some drama and stress.
Yeah.
And I started to show signs of some health issues pretty much middle school.
So what were some of those?
So a lot of that was, everyone said I was just too sensitive or, all kinds of stuff. It was in my head, and basically I had stomach issues that,
Wow.
kept going and kept getting more severe until in early high school, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
So let me just kind of pivot for a second. I had parents that stayed together that were wildly dysfunctional, loved me to death, wildly dysfunctional. And, they used to call me Quiz Whiz and Waterfalls, sorry. Quiz Whiz because I asked a lot of questions,
Right.
but Waterfalls because every time I lost a basketball game, I cried,
Really?
right? Yeah, highly sensitive.
Highly sensitive.
So like
that's a superpower.
to the point where like people my age were calling me Waterfalls. I was a competitive basketball player. When I lost, I couldn't take it, Joe. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you have a personality now that I'm a mother of 2 kids. There are some people that just are empaths and just absorb what's going on around them. And I definitely was that child.
Yep.
Like I said, I do think it's my superpower now.
Yeah.
Because I'm mature and I understand myself, and
Say that again?
it's my superpower now because
So
I'm
the-
mature.
Oh, mature. I thought you threw.
Mature now.
I couldn't hear the word. I thought there was another word. I was like, a chur. What's
No.
a chur? Is that some new shit that we can talk about?
Mature.
I think that when you go through a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
you know who you are pretty quick. And
Yeah.
so I did go through a lot of stuff. I think that a lot of, illness or diseases that you cannot see, people automatically, at least back then, would default, it's in their head. Something's wrong. They're oversensitive.
And by the way, it's in your nervous system that early years in your life that you thought it was in your head, right?
Oh,
Until
totally.
there was a diagnosis.
And then I felt validated. The diagnosis was like, yes, it wasn't in my head. This
Yeah.
is legit.
Yeah.
Like these stomach pains were no joke. So I basically grew up with Crohn's most of my life.
And you were a really good athlete?
I was not an athlete.
Student though?
I was a very good student.
Was that a challenge dealing with life on life's terms, physically and emotionally, and still becoming a
Yes.
student?
But I was so drawn to, grades made me happy.
Wow.
I think that's
My
maybe
daughter
that's
Reese.
kids. Yeah, I think a lot
It's
of
not my
women
son
do
Rob,
that.
but it's my daughter Reese.
Yeah, I felt that there was a concrete black and white. So I was in an environment that black and white, it was always gray.
Okay.
And so I love math, which is why I ended up going into Wall Street, because I loved
Wall
finite
Street, folks.
answers.
We'll get there in a second.
I liked getting answers, and it was black and white and clear.
Question though,
Yeah.
right? Because this is important. Life, the way it is,
It's all gray.
it's not great. It's not
all
clear.
gray.
So for you,
It was a control thing. Now
Yeah.
looking back, it was all about, when chaos is going on around you, I think most people, if they think about this, you look towards something that you can control and that you're good at, right? So that's where the whole, if you think about like eating disorders, right? People with other, kind of vices that they have, it's because they feel out of control in their life. And I think medical issues are a huge example of that, because there's so much you can't control, but we'll get to it later. But the point of what I'm doing now is to focus on what people can control.
And you've created a whole map and a strategy around that.
Yeah,
and really,
I'm
you have
developing
some
it
really
now.
good information to share.
Great
That's
information.
awesome. So high school, go to college. Where do you go to college?
I went to Scranton, University of Scranton.
Wow. And did that lead you right to Wall Street?
Yeah.
Okay,
right to Wall
so
Street.
what was your Scranton years like? Good grades, obviously, stomach challenges.
Oh, yeah,
How was your
like-
emotional?
I
What
loved
was it?
being on my own. I was completely independent. I was one of 4 women in a finance program
Wow.
at Scranton. If that tells you anything about my personality.
Wow.
I had great friends I was super tight with, but I was in the ER at least once or twice a year due to flare-up and issues. I had to manage that all on my own. I joke that having Crohn's disease was a great friend filter, boyfriend filter, any kind of filter.
Really?
If you were not genuine, you were out of my life.
Yeah.
You were
and you
either
picked
all
it up,
in or not.
You picked it up fast.
Right away.
You had
I
yeah.
had, it's just like a thermometer. Are you good? Are you genuine? Not? Okay, out.
Yeah.
So college was great. I had an amazing friends. I, had relationships that were healthy. College was great. And I think because I was in my own world, away from other drama.
Yep.
The only drama was my drama, so to speak.
So you weren't, not the family dramas.
Not the family drama,
Got
yeah.
it.
And so I went right from that to Wall Street.
Yeah, it's amazing because I can identify with family drama. If my sister and brother watch this, they're going to tell a different story, right? Of course, and my mom and my dad, may he rest in peace. And my sister, may she rest in peace. But, I'm the youngest, and it's real. For me, I had to put on a front when I was a little kid to smile all the time because it was wildly. I always say that I was raised by a pack of wolves. They all get insulted by it. Yeah. But the truth is they loved me as much as they could, but it was just wild.
I was the youngest too.
Yeah.
I think, we
what I mean?
we patch it up and
that's
do
what I'm
what we gotta
saying.
do. Yep.
And when I started to have my own world, it was freeing, even to this day. You know what I mean? Major shout out.
College.
Yeah.
That was me in college.
Now, did you go back to Saudi Arabia? Did you ever?
My mom. It's funny. My dad wanted me to, and my mom was like, "Hell no."
So what is your relationship with your dad?
Great.
Now, so even during that time, what was it like though for you?
Well, when he went back to Saudi Arabia and I was in college, I remember getting
calls.
I remember getting phone calls at 6 a.m, which is not really positive when you're in college.
And this was right around the first ground war in Iraq, right?
It was. Yes, that's
Yep.
the first. Yeah. So I always heard missiles going off in the background. Not again,
Crazy.
drama, right?
Yeah.
Lot for a kid.
That's a different kind of drama.
That's
though.
a different kind of drama.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he came back to the States, and I think that as you get older, you realize that your parents, at least this is what I believe, your parents are doing the best they can.
Yes, I agree 100%.
And so there's no,
because I'm going through that now as a parent.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're just doing the best we can. I tell my kids all the time.
Yeah.
There's no book.
And I fail every day, and I'm sorry.
So no, it's great. My relationship with both my parents is great.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome.
it comes full circle. And now that I am a parent, I actually look back and think they had a child who was really sick.
Yeah.
And I bet a lot of their frustrations and stress was because they didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
It's not like I had a broken leg or a broken arm that you put a cast on, you wait 10, 16 weeks, whatever, and you're fine. This was something that was a chronic illness that no one understood.
And remember, there's also, I'm going to assume this, a level of guilt from when it wasn't diagnosed, where they thought you had, and then it was like, oh my God, I've been telling this kid she's crazy for the last 2 or 3 years.
My mom used to give me money to drink milk because I hated milk, and then we found out I was lactose intolerant.
Wow.
So milk would make me sick.
Yep.
But I was just so skinny, and I was such a sick kind of looking kid a little bit. I was really scrawny. And so I think there was some level of that. But Italians, they just they see somebody skinny and they just want to feed you, and I'm also gluten free. And so they feed me, they'd be milkshakes and pasta, the two things that were not the most beneficial for me now.
Yeah.
But it's all in good jazz. All of it was well intended. And I think that's what you understand.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yep. And Joe, you're sitting here, we're driving right now, and
Yep.
you're going to come in and get into your special sauce that's connected to Lisa. What are your thoughts right now?
Well,
This is your first time on camera with
I was going to say, well, I follow you,
Yeah.
through your social media platform, and I'm always impressed, right? And then, the introduction to Lisa and hearing her story was just, it's you got to be a special person to kind of deal with what she's, dealt
Thank
with.
you.
But, I always talk about education in health insurance, right?
Yep.
And educating yourself. When I spoke to Lisa, I could not believe how educated, she was as a consumer. But through our conversation, she's like, wow, I didn't know. So as much as I thought she was educated, she was like, oh my God. Yep. So the connection has been great. And this is just a very, very cool platform. And I'm excited about this conversation.
And you know what it is, folks? Like, this is important for you. And remember, it's in service of you right now. And we're showing you many different dynamics, relationship capital. But also, when Lisa reached out to me, I knew like the outcome was going to be, hey, let's do a podcast. And I knew I couldn't answer questions but I knew where she was coming from. So I was like, I just did a joint text. And really, when you could communicate on a high level, have good relationships with people, I just said, hey, you guys, connect. When they got done connected, we scheduled it. That's how, like, they've had conversations without me, have no idea what they spoke about. We're going to get into that, but it's tying in to give a message to you. Not only what Joe just said about Lisa, where she was informed and, she had gone through this whole struggle, but she wants to share this information with you. And that's what...
Well, that's what, getting back to what we were just talking about, when, I went through college, that's when I started to understand how important, knowledge about managing your healthcare is so important.
And you knew that then?
Well, because I would go to the ER and then get, I was going to an ER that maybe didn't take my health insurance. And it was the first time I was in a situation where I wasn't with my parents.
Wow.
I was under my dad's plan. And I would get back 2 months later, a month later, get a bill from the hospital, a big bill.
Yeah.
And then get stressed because I didn't want to go back to my parents like I did something wrong. And there
it would happen,
right?
Yeah.
And so fast forward, I graduate college and
you get the gig at Goldman.
But listen to this.
Okay.
So I had about 4 offers, Goldman being one of them.
Yep.
And it wasn't about the name. To me, I asked the HR departments to give me their benefits.
Good for you.
And I had to look at, because I knew that medical insurance was going to be a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
And I needed to make sure one of them, I remember one of my, Merrill Lynch, MetLife, Goldman, and there was a 4th one. And Goldman had the best medical insurance. That's why I chose them.
Yeah.
And so, that I was only 22, and that's because of my history. When I talk to people all the time, how did you know? Like, a lot of it, you just live and learn. But I believe whatever I have learned, I would love to pass on to others, because if it means less, that they struggle less than I did, then then it was worth it.
Listen, Lisa, that's amazing, because if you think about it, people are trying to learn in their 40s, maybe late 30s, 40s, and 50s what you learned when you were 22.
Exactly.
And
it's complicated.
And this is where I talk about turning decades into days by connecting with folks like you, folks like Joe, because Joe's going to connect the dots on Lisa's research and strategy and struggle for you folks to maximize or minimize your out-of-pocket, right? I guess that's what we're going to talk about.
Just protect a lot of it is protecting yourself.
Yeah.
And I started a new platform to empower patients.
And what's the name of your?
So it's called Secrets of Lemons.
Is there?
It is
give a website?
secretsoflemons.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and basically I blog, write, video about life living with, a hidden disability.
Awesome.
I've had lots of surgeries since being diagnosed with Crohn's.
How many surgeries?
I think, I'm missing 4 organs. I've probably had about 7 or 8 surgeries at this point.
Okay.
But all is well.
Yep.
But I feel, I did a post recently about medical expenses and about how recently they're getting removed from your credit report, which is huge, because that even affected me when I graduated college. I remember applying for a credit card, and those ER hospital bills actually followed me, because what did I do as a completely, unaware college student? I just ripped up the bills and threw them out because I was afraid of them. Right.
Denial.
And so anyway, I started the conversation around medical insurance and medical bills. It's a huge part of my life now. And I got all these people sending me messages. Can you go into this a little more? And so that's why I reached out to you.
So wait, hold on. Quick question. So you was this a blog or a video?
It was both.
And were they coming from outside of our bubble?
Outside of our bubble.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because part of it, being in control of taking care of yourself and empowering yourself to be a knowledgeable patient, is to know what is covered.
Yeah.
What do you need? If this isn't covered, what do you need? How do you go to the best doctor, and how do you pay for that?
Yeah.
And there's different levels of what people could handle. And so after speaking to Joe, who knows so much, and it was awesome. We kind of have there's like 4 areas I'd like to talk about.
Did you guys strategize a game plan?
Yes.
I'd love to hear it.
Yes.
I'd love to go. Let's go if you want to go into the first area,
yeah. So
let's just kind of
basically,
talk
it's all
about
about
it.
managing your healthcare. And the number one thing I would say in terms of tips
Yep.
is whenever you get a medical bill, ask questions. Just don't pay it.
Ask
Right,
questions to who? Like, Joe, what do we do?
Well,
I get a bill.
You get a bill, right?
Yep.
What should come next? An explanation of benefits. You
Yeah.
match it up. But everything is kind of generated based on a CPT code, right?
Okay.
So it's a 4-digit code that somebody's keying in behind the scenes.
Got it.
How people are human.
Yep.
You can switch one
So they
number.
make a mistake and the number goes higher.
Correct.
Or vice versa. Yeah.
Or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Does it happen? It's happened.
Oh,
right?
it happens all the time.
It happens all the time, right? So we're kind of we're always like, okay, we get a bill, we should pay it.
Yeah.
That's our big.
That's what I do. I write it. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But did you ever look at the bill? Right. So we're really kind of trusting in other people to do kind of the basics, which, listen, people mess up and it happens, but you got to educate yourself. You got to look at the bill. You got to match it up and make sure financially, everything is being transparent and that you're educating yourself.
But I have a question with that.
Yeah.
So is there, and I'm not vilifying,
insurance,
I'm not vilifying anybody, but can
Yeah.
doctors purposely kind of pass it off to you or insurance company? Like, is there like games that are being played there besides someone mistakenly putting in the code?
I would think there's errors.
Okay.
I would
Human
think they would
error.
quote it human error.
Okay, but is it really fake confusion? You won't say it.
I won't
okay,
say it.
I got
I won't
you.
say it, but I think
get what you're
that-
saying.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's people are. You always say is people are human.
Yes.
But can somebody relook at that claim and say, oh, we messed
Yes.
up? Absolutely,
Yeah.
it happens all the
Well,
time.
the other thing is you can negotiate. I would compare this to when people get their credit card bills. I'm sure they just don't pay it. They look at the detail, right?
Yes.
Say no difference.
So have the same
managing
mindset.
your so we know that there's a connection between your health, right, your physical health, and your financial health.
Oh, yeah.
So this is real, as you know,
Oh, yeah.
better than anyone,
Yep.
right? So this is no different. That's how people have to start looking at it.
Yes,
Right.
I agree 100%.
So maybe the insurance information, maybe when you went to the doctor or went to the hospital, whatever the case may be, maybe they wrote down the wrong information.
Yeah.
Maybe your insurance rejected it at first because the code was missing, or maybe it was just human error. Maybe the codes are there. If you call your insurance company, maybe a little talking, a little asking questions, they might cover it.
Yeah.
Just ask.
Yeah.
So I think that the number one thing I would say is ask. Don't be afraid to call your carrier. So say your Blue Cross Blue Shield or United Healthcare. Call. Talk to somebody.
Now, do you recommend the right kind of questions to ask, or is it just a straightforward?
I would like to tell everyone that there's no question that's a stupid question.
Okay, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
I would agree.
And why I was asking about like doctors or insurance carriers. My partner Sean Callagy, he owns Callagy Law, and what they specialize in here in New Jersey is to recover revenues for doctors from insurance companies that purposely don't pay it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right, that's their niche, and they're really good at it, as you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you do their health insurance,
do their
right?
health
Yeah.
insurance.
So at the end of the day, that's their specialty. And that's why I was wondering, is there games that are being played when it comes to
Well,
when
let's
we get
just
billed?
say that I have a lot of doctors that are out of network that don't take my insurance,
Yep.
right? So what I do is I have the type of insurance plan that I can go out of network and submit bills later on.
Okay. So how does that work? Like I'm 2
So how
years
does that
old.
work? Is
Yeah.
like I go to you,
Yep.
you don't take insurance, you don't take my insurance.
Yep.
So I pay for it out of pocket.
$3,000, let's say.
Yeah,
I'll make up a
like
number.
whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And actually, that's part of one of our bullet points is if you don't take my insurance, I'm going to find out, do you take other insurance? Can we negotiate a rate?
Oh, so people could do that.
People can do
You
that.
could negotiate
So
at
it depends.
like with a
So-
doctor?
so
Like-
for example, you.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
So much people don't know.
Absolutely.
I go to a doctor, a gastro, and they don't take United Healthcare, and I say, okay, but you take Blue Cross Blue Shield. Yeah. Okay. Well, what is your contracted rate with Blue Cross Blue Shield? $150 a visit, but out of pocket, it would have been $300 a visit.
Got it.
Right.
Got
so
it.
can I pay that negotiated rate?
Got it.
You could totally do that.
And are they willing to do that, or do they
Yeah, you
lose
just have
out?
to ask. I
Okay.
mean, at the end of the day, I'd like to think if you're going to a good doctor
Yeah.
whose intentions are good,
Integrity based. Got it.
Yep.
they're going to
they're gonna
do
work.
right
for-
there.
Yeah.
gonna work with
I
you.
But I
understand.
would say a majority of the people that I go to, my insurance does pay out of network expenses.
Got it.
Okay. So
Yep.
I have to pay whatever their fee is.
Yep.
I pay for it, and then I submit the bill later. Many times when I'm dealing with my insurance carrier, the bill gets lost.
Got it.
And so there's follow-up. There's a lot of paperwork. So
Got it.
this for me personally, this is a time-consuming task, but I have a lot of doctors and I have a lot of things that just given my medical situation that I have to follow up on.
But how many doctors do you have?
Oh, God.
Just so people like,
I probably have like 7 doctors.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah.
6,
I mean, that's
7
just
for various different things.
That's your thing. Got it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
your
like
life.
my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Like, I mean, listen, and that's why. Listen, stay tuned with us, everybody, because this is where you learn stuff, right? And if your body's betraying you and it's telling you you're tired, or if your brain is kind of just, let me go watch Netflix, stay tuned. It's going to get better. We got some more things to get into. But this information is worth a lot of money, saves you time, and gives you a game plan and a map on how to really kind of expedite the health insurance process, I would say.
And take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if you go, Joe and I were talking the other day about a dermatologist, right? Don't go when there's a problem. Go to a dermatologist in your network if you have health insurance. Maybe they're going to catch some skin cancer that, if it wasn't caught, is going to grow into something that manifests in much more serious situations.
So you're part of your coaching strategy, I'll say, is to really encourage to go to doctors in advance of, not as
Proactive,
waiting for
not
something
reactive.
to happen. Yeah. Wow. You want to talk about that, or is that part of your quadrant? Or
Well, no, I think that
I love that idea.
The first thing people have to do, though, is have, in my opinion, in order to protect their financial wealth and their financial situation, they have to have insurance. And so the first thing, so we talked about bills, just don't pay any bill, right? Yep. Okay, so once we figured out, okay,
don't pay the bill.
Pay the bills, yeah.
Just ask questions first.
Don't pay the bill. No.
After that, okay, so maybe you're finding out that your insurance is not covering your expenses properly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about medical insurance.
Yeah.
And there's a couple different options. So the first one that I was talking about with Joe, which I'm going to have him take over because I was blown away with this, is the marketplace insurance. So we all know this as, state funded? What is it? It's called marketplace, right?
Well, yeah. Obamacare,
Is this
marketplace.
new stuff, or like what you're about to introduce? Or you? Like,
No, it's not new. It's the everyday stuff that we hear: Obamacare or marketplace or state insurance or individual insurance. But when we were having our discussion, one of the biggest kind of unknowns, or maybe some people do know, but I think it's most unknown, is depending on the state you live in, right? That's where your network is, right? So if you're in a situation where you need, you live in New Jersey and you want to go to Philadelphia, CHOP, right, for people that have kids, or New York, Hospital for Special Surgery, big name hospitals. If you're in marketplace insurance, you are not, that's not in your network. Okay. So that becomes a problem for
That's
people.
major.
Okay, so
let's
stop.
Like a pause.
Let's
that's
dig
really
deep
important.
into that right now.
Yep.
So explain all that.
So Obamacare or marketplace insurance, that's in any state. So Florida, for example.
Yeah, because you go back and forth.
Right.
Yep.
If I'm in Florida and I have the state insurance, marketplace insurance in Florida, I can't go to a doctor anywhere else.
Okay. If you do, it's a big bill.
Yeah, it's not covered.
Got it. Okay.
And I don't think most people know that.
But
marketplace was created to be affordable health care for people.
But when did you discover that? With him or just through your own bill?
I never knew that.
Okay.
I mean, luckily, my husband works for, a company that he has a group plan, so I'm covered. So one of the things we want to talk about, you have
so
options.
you're good, but what you're saying is you didn't know this, so now you can inform people. Got it.
If he wants to retire, when we're thinking about, so
I got
you have different plans. So you have group plans and you have individual plans.
Got it.
Right?
Yep.
So individual plans, you have 2 options. You have like a personal plan that you go to Joe and he can formulate for you. Generally, they're a little more expensive.
Yep.
And you have marketplace, state by state, that you could choose, which generally, depending on your income, is more affordable.
Got it.
But just because,
But there's strings attached. Yeah.
There are.
Got it.
So that is a big deal. So everybody talks about, Obamacare, we have this affordable health care. Is it really affordable for you? So if you have a cancer and there's a specialist
and you can't
that's
go
in the
see
state
him
next to you, right? So if I'm in Florida and there's a specialist in Georgia, I can't go to Georgia and get that.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, especially if it's a specialist.
Yeah.
And you have something really bad.
And you have something really bad. And it becomes, again, a challenge. And
so you come across this a lot, Joe? Like just in your dealings?
Almost every day, right?
Really?
And it's
really, it's just a shock, right?
It's a shock.
It's like sometimes someone will say, I retired, I got $1 million in my IRA. And I'm like, okay, but 30 or 40% is going to get taxed out of your income. They're like, no, they said it was going to be tax free. No. You pay with pre-tax dollars, it's taxable to ordinary income. So it's like an aha moment. So when you're dealing with that, is it like a shock to the system? Or are you dealing with it after they found out? Is it because they can't go see the specialist? Like, what does that look like?
It all depends on the consumer, right? Because there's consumers out there that have done their homework, right?
Okay.
And know that.
And how far off the chain is she? compared to right? I'm saying
she's
like
off the chain. No.
Like is she like?
No, she's very.
Yeah.
She knows her. You have a plan, right? We've actually talked where in retirement age we kind of now have a
strategy.
resource and a potential strategy, right?
I haven't had to worry about this because I've been lucky enough, which a lot of people are, fortunately, that their employer offers a group plan. So, but the minute you get fired from that employer, laid off, or you decide to retire, start your own business, this becomes a major problem.
Yes.
You have to somehow acquire medical insurance for yourself. And so marketplace or, getting a personal insurance plan is important. Now, for someone like me who has pre-existing conditions,
it's hard.
I'm going to be very difficult. Group plans are really the way to go.
So let's say if you and your husband retired tomorrow, hypothetically.
Yeah, we talked about this the other night.
What's the game plan?
So the game plan is it's going to be our number one expense.
Okay, so it's like a third house.
Totally.
Got it. Like a third house mortgage. Got it.
And so we were actually talking to Joe about, well, there's I'm not going to give the advice, but there's some options on how you can maybe benefit from group to be in a group plan, or for me to go in a personal plan, I have to do a questionnaire. No insurance company is going to touch me for missing organs. There's no way. Like my risk is like they're not tolerant for that.
Yeah.
But so then the marketplace would be something that, depending on our financial situation, that might be my only option. But then
state specific,
I can only stay in that
Got
state.
It. Understood. Can you have it in 2 states though? Is that a silly question?
Well, that's a good question.
It's not. I don't think it's a bad question.
Okay.
But it is the state that you reside in. That's
how
I look at
Got
it. And my understanding is I don't know anybody that has
You should find that out just for your own.
It's a great question.
Like, that would be good.
Snowbirds, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's my point.
I would think there's some laws behind that it's not going to be compliant, but it brings up a good question. But we did talk about some interesting things, like if you own a business and you're a 1099 or you're a sole prop, and maybe how to get a group plan based off of that.
What if she owns are you ready? So she retired, they both retired, but she has a social media company.
Right.
That's
what we talked about.
That's what we talked about.
That's exactly what we talked about. And how I was so relieved that that's an option on how to maintain a group plan status.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Now that's today, right?
That's what we do.
That's why
that's what we do.
To talk to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Bang, get a social media company. I got 2 guys here that are really good if you want to work with them. And we're thinking about starting our own social media company. I really am. And wait till I tell you that whole story. I swear to God.
No, but that is, so there's a lot of people out there that maybe thought group plan wasn't an option, and maybe they have a small family business that could qualify, that when they compare apples to apples, like a personal plan with potentially having a group plan in their small business, the group plan is going to be a better plan and cheaper.
Hold on.
Might be.
Ready? Owns your own company. Husband's an employee. Right, 2 other employees.
You can't have a spouse as your employee. He talked
Look
about
at this. Look at just taught her this the other night. Right? So what was that? Level 5 listener?
Yeah. Well, she's definitely level 5. No doubt about it.
So yeah.
So how does that work in with her situation, organs and all, social media, right? Is it just a group plan for everybody, including her?
Yeah, well, we would need a...
And then her husband's on her?
I have an employee, so I have people that work for me.
Right, that work for her, and we would get her, a group plan for
the employees and her.
Employees.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's a way to qualify
That's awesome.
for it.
And then it's a business expense on
And then
top
you
of
could
that.
look at the price difference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now it's not a third house.
Yeah.
It's less. It's like
It's
half a
like-
house. It's like a condo.
It's like a house in Bayonne.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Sorry, babe. I love you guys. Everything I do is for Bayonne. Sorry.
But
It's
anyway,
all my roots. I just, downtown on First Street, Anyway, go ahead.
can't forget your roots.
Yeah.
But these are important things to talk about.
love
though.
this.
So a lot of people don't know that these are options, and so I would say I was kind of feeling people out. Group plans, and most people are like, I didn't think about when
I retire.
One of us retires. We've had a group plan my whole life.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
and most likely, I'm just saying, the U.S. population, we all have something. By the time you're in your late 40s, 50s, there's something going on.
Do a checkup for the neck up.
That-
Right? You like that?
Yeah,
You got to
I do
use
like
that
that.
one. Do
I
a
do
checkup
like
for the
that.
neck up.
I like that.
What's our next quadrant?
So the next one is group plans. So say you're 25, 45, and you've had a group plan your whole life. Group plan meaning medical insurance or other benefits through your company.
Yep.
Okay. And you kind of get every year this form that you sign. Yeah, this looks good.
Yep.
Most people don't read it. They don't know what's involved.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that are covered that people don't even know about. Educate yourself.
Like what?
Like vision. Maybe you're paying for eyeglasses, but they're covered.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Maybe you need a root canal and you paid for it out of pocket, but it's included in your dental plan that you weren't aware of.
Wow.
Right?
Very common.
It happens all the time.
Yep.
Okay.
And so I would say, so we kind of, what were some of the things that you need to think about when having a group plan?
Well, we were talking about the different, we'll call it vehicles, whether it was taking advantage of, pre-tax savings and FSAs
that was a big one. Talk about that.
or
That was a good
health
one.
savings accounts.
Flexible savings accounts.
Yeah, flexible
Yep.
spending accounts. And there's a lot of unique things or avenues that are out there, I should say, we'll call it vehicles, that could help kind of offset your medical costs, your vision costs, your dental costs. You look at it and you're like, well, I'm just going to kind of decline it because I don't even know what it is.
Yep.
Right. So, we look at it as, do you have resources that are available to you? Right. And
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, a broker, right?
Okay.
So an
Yep.
advisor, a broker, advisor, somebody trusted partner.
And people should really think about that, right? Like to have a
Yes.
trusted in this space, like any other space, but like this is high level importance when it comes to your money and your health.
Absolutely.
Most companies do have it. They do. They should. But if they're not present, do they know? Right? They usually get and we talked
Got
about
it.
this. How many times did you get the piece of paper, say, elect your benefits, I need to know in 24 hours?
Every
right?
October, yeah.
Right? Every October is your
Yeah.
renewal, right?
Yeah.
But did
Exactly.
anybody ever come in and have the conversation with you?
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes they do.
Not really, though.
Sometimes they
Yeah.
don't, right? So, we just talk about us being that person.
Yeah.
We're more than willing to help, right?
Yeah.
But then it comes into educating yourself, right? Because you made a comment before about the cost, right? It's like the cost of a condom. When you look at your bills on a monthly basis, it's mortgage and then insurance,
Yep.
probably. And
Yep.
then if you're a business owner, right, it's payroll and then, employee benefits.
Yep.
Right. So it's all this money that you're spending, you're spending, is just knowing, are you spending it the right way?
Yeah.
Are you maximizing and utilizing it the right way?
Yeah, and Joe, is it just to play with this? So if they're going to call their people, right, whoever's doing health insurance, any question's a good question, right?
Any
As
question,
we talked about.
Yep.
But is there like, I know this is blanket, so we're not specific, so don't hold us to anything. But like, is this where you have the conversations about going to a higher deductible? Is this where you kind of dig deep into like, what would separate you, right? You have a lot of clients, but what separates you from other people that do what you do that's a value add, even if they're going to call you from any one of my clients that are around here from a different state or a different location?
Well, what I would say is we're willing to educate. We're willing to take the time.
The phone time, yeah.
Because again, we're all on I'll call it a level playing field, right?
Yeah.
So specifically in New Jersey, it's age banded, right? Groups are age banded rate when you're 50 and under. So there's no negotiations, right?
Got it.
The rates are set by the rates. So what sets me apart from the next person? It's being able to pick up the phone and getting Joe Davis,
Yep.
right?
Got it.
Or, having an educated response to your question,
Yep.
right? And if you and know what you don't know. If you don't know, have
Say you
the
don't know.
right resources to
Yeah.
find them.
Yeah, no,
right?
it's a good
So
point.
I think that's what really kind of sets that apart, and why we've actually won clients is because we've picked up the phone and answered questions where people, just
Don't have time for it.
take,
Well,
hey,
can I
pick a
just
plan.
plug in Joe here for a
Yeah,
minute? Because I do think
absolutely.
I'm a super educated consumer given my background. And I not only learned from Joe, okay, and I was pretty educated on this to
Yep.
begin with, but also the fact that it's not asking someone questions. It's having someone that could respond back to you in a way that you understand.
Yes.
Right? So you can go to the best of the best that you think the best of the best, but if
Exactly.
you have if you're talking two different languages and they're
Exact-
not helpful,
Yep.
so Joe is really good at
Breaking it down.
laying it out
Yep.
and being so careful with his words of, well, I don't know if that's okay, Lisa, you generalize that, but you can't generalize it. I'm like, well, why? Because everybody's different. Because my medical needs are different than your medical needs.
And he's patient.
And my financial, right? And not everybody is going to be honest with you that way.
So let me ask you this: with the connection here, and with what you're, the way you're kind of contributing to the world, and the way you have access to help people, is there like some kind of synergy here from a business perspective?
Well, I think anyone who
I'm just saying, I don't know how.
I started the conversation with, and I'm always talking about all kinds of stuff. Just like I talk about eating well and moving your body. This is a huge part of taking care of yourself. Yeah. Anybody who comes to me asking questions,
they're going to go to Joe.
Go to the expert.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
And can you like do? And I'm just asking, like on yours, can you do like videos together that dig deep into like specific topics? Because I've seen success on our side with that. Like I'll talk about a specific thing, and you give education on it.
Well, if people have questions, by all means, send an email. Go to my website, go and write any question you have, and I will absolutely address it, because this is why we're starting the conversation, right? So the more people that listen to this, hopefully they're going to be not only financially better off, healthy financially, but maybe they're going to go to the doctor because maybe they're going to, I didn't know I could go, and maybe there's a diagnosis, maybe there's a catch, and I've just impacted, right? Yeah. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. So anyway, so I think when we were talking about group plans, I think it's important, once you get your benefits or your medical insurance, be informed. And you could go to someone like Joe. If you don't have someone in your company to ask, call him.
Yeah, call Joe. Call Joe.
And have him
call Joe.
It to you. But you mentioned two things that, again, I learned. So you have the two ways to save pre-tax dollars. Explain those.
Flexible spending accounts.
FSA.
Right. FSA.
And that is pre-tax dollars that you apply to medical costs, eligible medical costs. Correct. And do those expire that year or don't?
So they do expire.
In 1 year.
You elect for the year.
Use it or lose it, right,
It's
Joe?
a use it or lose it benefit. There is a little bit of a grace period, rollout, however you want to call it, but that's a use it or lose it situation. There's also health savings accounts.
In other words, it's an HSA.
That's
right?
an HSA.
Yep.
Look at you, Rob. Right?
I'm talking to my people right now.
Yeah, and that is coupled with a high deductible health plan. So there is a difference, right? There is a difference, and we can get into requirements on an individual basis.
Yeah, right? Reach out to these guys if you have specific questions.
But that is something that grows like a investment account. You can contribute money every year to it, and through the course of the years, right? You will be able to purchase eligible medical expenses, right, in one lump sum, right? You save all your bills, and you can withdraw that money if you wanted to, or chip away at it. But you can invest it.
So Joe, let me dummy this down. Not that you guys are dummies. I'll keep it real simple. If you put, let's say, $5,000 a year every year for like 10 years, and you're healthy the whole way through, this money can earn a rate of return. All of a sudden, you have $100,000 health expense for something happens.
Surgery.
Yeah. Boom, this thing could pay, right?
Exactly.
And if they don't have it, you could derive income out of it at some point.
Eventually.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Eventually.
So I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I only knew about the FSA. So I think that, for people to know if their employers offer any of these types of ways, to save in advance, just like you would save for your retirement, save for your medical expenses, your medical event.
That's awesome.
So, and I think that, if you're wanting to choose between group plans in whatever employer you have, Joe could point out the obvious. Do they have a high deductible? Do you want to go with the low deductible? What's your situation medically? Do you have a lot of expenses? Maybe this plan, even though it might look like it's more expensive, you're going to save in the long run. Or no, you're pretty healthy. You could do with a high deductible. And then he was schooling me, which was great, on insurance that you can buy additionally to help with, if you have a high deductible that could go towards paying that high deductible. Didn't even know that existed.
I don't either. What is that?
Yeah, so like a hospital indemnity plan, a voluntary plan, right? The Afflex of the world.
Oh, like Klaus. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right? So they're traditionally on a group platform.
Got it.
Right? And people are like, oh, well, it's just extra money. It's just an added cost.
Yeah.
But do it's pennies on the dollar.
And the employer doesn't care, though, because it's a voluntary benefit, so the employee pays on their own. So the employer is going to let you offer that all day long.
Yep.
Got it.
They should offer it, right? Because it's benefit, value added.
Yep.
Right. But there are options to do that on an individual basis, right? I
didn't know that.
So it's not for everybody, but if you don't ask that question, it's, you don't know. You don't know. And it is available.
And it's okay to ask questions, guys, gals. Please ask a lot of questions. What else?
So things like when you talk about asking questions, short-term disability, long-term disability, a lot of group plans offer it, or even if you're not on a group plan, say you're on a personal plan, know that these are out there. I had to utilize both of them at various points in my career. I got sick. I was out for 2 months, and luckily I was smart enough to notice that because I read it in detail before starting the job. And I paid out of my paycheck automatically into short-term disability. And I was lucky enough where I was out of work for 3 months and I got my full paycheck. Wow. And that was huge at 23 years old. To pay my rent, to pay my bills. I didn't have that much savings at the time. So these are things that people should know about, especially people in my world who have a chronic illness or chronic disease. This is a huge portion of most likely, their medical expenses are going to be one of the top expenses in their life, right? And so if they have vehicles where they could feel in control and empowered, then they can make better decisions, and hopefully that affects their physical health better as well.
Yeah, so we always talk about eliminate disempowering questions. For example, why does this always happen to me? Into an empowering question, which is, hey, what can I learn from this, get better, so it doesn't happen again, and be able to share this with other people and be able to share information. Awesome. Thank you so much. Question I have is, when you really kind of dig deep into who you are now, right? And I don't mean control in a bad way, but controlling your outcomes statistically based on probabilities of the research you've done, right? What does your world look like today as far as how you approach dietary, how you approach your family, the kitchen? What does all that look like?
It's funny because I used to be, and I'm going to go back into it now, an inspirational speaker.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah.
Because you said that before, and I was like, well, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? So my last company that you're aware of that I had, it was called Ostomy Secrets.
Now, was this when you were on the 10 by 10 with me, or was this after that?
So that was...
10 by 10 was during COVID.
During COVID, I had sold it by then.
Okay, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So about, I guess my daughter's 16, then it must have been about 13 years ago. I started a company after I had a lot of parts removed.
Yep. But that was your inspiration?
I basically woke up. I was alive. I almost died a few times in the hospital. A lot of things were removed. I ended up with something called, most people know it as a colostomy bag. I had an ileostomy. And so I was 29 years old with this, and I was really confused, happy to be alive, but how was I going to be a mom and active, and I lived in Florida at the time. And
were you married at this point?
I was married 2 years.
This guy's a warrior.
Yeah, my husband's awesome.
He's the man.
Yeah, he's the man.
Straight up.
I came up with the idea of making undergarments, swimwear, activewear that had pouches that held these bags, these medical.
That was the inspiration.
Yeah. So part of what my platform now is directly related to that. Wow. So I started a business literally out of my garage. Literally, I was telling someone today.
Steve Jobs style.
I had 3,000 pairs of underwear, men's, women's. I had bathing suits. I had.
Wait, where'd you get? So you bought the underwear though? Or did you get it from Salvation Army?
I literally cold called manufacturers, talked to designers, got people to make this product that I thought of.
This is after Goldman?
This is after Goldman.
Okay, got it.
Yep. And
how cool is this?
Manufactured a lot of products to help people. Started online.
I didn't know this.
E-commerce, yeah.
Yep.
Literally sold out of my garage with my 2-year-old in tow. Went to the post office every single day delivering packages. That grew.
So people were reaching out to you online.
Yeah, everything was based around me. Now I sold. It was called Ostomy Secrets. Think of Victoria's Secrets. Ostomy Secrets.
Wow.
I sold it to a medical company, and now it's in 40-something countries, helping people all over the world who need to have this surgery to save their life, like it did mine.
Wait, hold on. I want to get to the business side for a second.
Yeah.
When you sold it, was there stock?
I did the deal. Nope.
Do you still benefit from any of it?
I did get royalties, but those are since have ended.
If you could have done something different, would you have done something different? And the answer could be, I'm just asking as a businessman right now.
I would have had a bigger lump sum up front.
Got it. Okay.
You know why?
Nope.
Because when it's your business, you care and do things so much different than when like a big company buys your business.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because
You
they
operate
commercialize
differently.
it.
Yeah. So the royalties that I had, I think I could have sold a lot more if it was me behind it.
Got it.
So going back to the speaking,
That is wild.
I spoke all over the country, Japan, all over, with my story and what I was doing to help people. I spoke to surgeons, nurses, doctors, patients.
Before the buyout or after the buyout?
Before the buyout.
So you went from the garage.
Operating solely on my own.
Somebody said, "Listen, you need to speak about this all over the world."
So I partnered with the medical company. I didn't want to sell out right away.
Wait, hold on. Listen, entrepreneurs, listen up here. This is where inspiration came in. She created this really cool product
that I wanted myself.
Because it was something that she wanted. It wasn't just like, let me go change the world. And oh, by the way, let me go help everybody. So did you go to the medical company or did they come to you first?
I met them at a conference.
How though? Like
this is so funny. So I have literally mannequins.
This is entrepreneurial stuff.
This is so funny. I have pictures of this that I have to share. It's on my website. You have to go to secretsoflemons.com and see these pictures.
What is it again?
Secrets of Lemons.
Secretsoflemons.com. Secretsoflemons.com. Word to your mom. Go ahead.
So there's some pictures of my first conference. I had bought secondhand mannequins. Okay. I stuck ostomy bags, my current ostomy bags that I used. Unused ones, put them on these mannequins, put this underwear that I made on, men's boxers, women's underwear on these mannequins, and went to a medical trade show.
No, that's not normal, right?
No.
Just so we're on the same page. Okay,
normal.
Got it.
I have
innovation all over the place.
I had a Cher wig on one of the mannequins, a red boa, just to get some attention. I didn't have fancy TV screens and all this marketing budget like everyone else had.
Yeah.
And I buy this little booth. And I had a line of ostomy nurses
right away,
right out the door. And the company that I wore their ostomy bags, okay, that company had a booth like across the way.
Okay.
And they came and saw that I had their product on my mannequins. And so I was like, okay, we'll talk. And so then I said, let's just have a partnership. I'll help you, you help me.
So, all right. I didn't know we were going here. Sorry about that. No, this is really good. No.
Most people don't know that story.
No, I didn't. Thank you. That was awesome. So now, and
that kind of took it to another level.
But so you have a meeting now. You have a Wall Street background. You understand business on some level.
I do.
You've seen things happen.
Yes.
So a lot of people, you might have a golden ticket. Make sure you talk to people, especially if stuff is blowing up in a good way, that you can make good decisions. Now, you guys meet and they want to take you out. You're like, not yet. So one of the agreements was
we dated a while.
But in that dating, did they encourage you to go speak all over the place?
Yeah, what was great is because this is a medical company, a global medical company.
So they paid for everything?
They paid for me to go into every hospital in the U.S.
Did you get paid to speak and paid a piece of the profits?
Yep.
Okay, like in the company. Wow.
Yep.
Do you miss speaking?
That's why I want to do it again.
Keep doing it.
I loved it.
Don't stop.
Because
the world needs to hear your story.
That's why I'm doing this today.
This is awesome. Just don't forget the little people when you blow up again.
Seriously, man.
When you impact someone.
Yeah.
For me,
so
when
powerful.
I would impact a surgeon, that surgeon is going to see maybe 20, 30 people.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So by talking to one person, I'm impacting now people.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of people that surgeons, when they would say there were these lifestyle products, these people who say you had colon cancer, and the surgeon would say, okay, you need this surgery. That person would say, I'm not having that surgery. That's gross.
Yep.
Then they would say, well, there's this crazy girl, this crazy blonde that
from
started
Jersey.
this company.
Yep.
She makes products that's actually, you're going to be able to go back to work. And
It's
you're going to be able to
fashionable.
wear normal clothes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then they went on my website. They saw my story. They would see my products.
Wow.
They would then have the life-saving surgery, and they lived a wonderful, normal life.
It's amazing. It's funny, and thank you for opening this up, because I'm going to the Ukraine on June 1st through the 7th.
Are you really?
I am.
That's awesome.
And it was funny because, one of my partners invited me, and I, absolutely, because we talked about the bubble, and, my kids have a phenomenal life. My wife is phenomenal, and, God forbid if I shuffled off this mortal coil, they would be fine. Money would be there, except they would miss their dad. But I just felt like I got to go there because every day for the 6 days that I'm there, if I could impact one person each day, that one of them changes the world for the better a generation
100%.
later, that's what it's about for me. So when you said that.
And that is the premise behind what I'm doing on the Secrets of Lemons platform. It's not just empowering patients, but the other biggest thing is that I want to encourage people to share their story.
Yes.
Because in order, things happen to us for a reason. We all got lemons in life.
God works
right?
through people.
Yes. And so these lemons, if you look at it,
make some lemonade.
You will. It will lead you to the lemonade.
Make the best lemonade stand on the shop. That's what she did.
So I'm encouraging others to lean into their lemons.
Yeah.
Squeeze the hell out of them.
It's an amazing story.
And make the best lemonade. That company for me was my lemonade.
So when you spoke publicly and dated, how long did you date before you're like, you know what, I'm gonna
So
step
I
out?
dated with the company for about 2 years.
Yep.
And then we went into negotiations.
And was it just something that you wanted to move to the next phase? Like what?
Well, what happened was it started out of my garage. I was like, I just want to help people, and it started to get big fast, bigger than I intended. Well, so I'm managing my
husband,
illness.
Yep.
I'm married. I have a 2-year-old.
Yep.
And I also want to grow my family.
Okay.
Right. So actually,
so you wanted to be a mom.
I was so grateful to be alive. I did not take anything for granted. So I was flying all over the place and doing things, but I wanted to make sure I was around my kids too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that was really the pull?
That was the pull. And I knew at the end of the day, I think any entrepreneur has to make this decision. If there's an opportunity to sell it, the mission of what I was doing was to get these products in as many people that needed it. Wow. And I couldn't do that from my house.
Yeah. So if
I got this company to do it, they were going to have a far bigger reach than me.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
It was
you felt like you did your job.
It was about I wanted everybody who was going to have this surgery in the world to know that these existed.
So now you've done that, and now you're raising your family.
Yeah, so I took a little sabbatical.
And is there a pull? Did COVID bring this back?
So COVID,
what's going on right now?
10 by 10.
Really?
I was with you.
So I just want to make sure, she could say, let me give a major, 5 years from now, let me give a major shout out to Rob Gill, 10 by 10.
I mean, the 10 by 10.
That's where the spark was.
So Carolyn knows my story, our good friend, and she was like, you have too much going on, and you need to tell your story.
She's great.
So when I was on the 10 by 10, it's when getting everyone's reaction, like, oh, that's a cool story. And I was like, yeah, it is a cool story.
It is.
Because I was retired for a little while, about 3 years. Yep. And so this concept of this platform of Secrets of Lemons basically was born out of that.
You know, it's interesting because I remember when I saw you at Carolyn's house that one time, and we were talking, and you were still kind of a little bit pensive about the social media stuff.
Yes, still.
But are you though? Because you're different now than you were a year ago than you were 2 years ago.
I'm getting used to it. You know, I'm leaning into it. I think it's something that I can't. I'm like, why are more people following me? Or why can't I get liked? It's so hard.
But let me ask you, Danny and Parker. I don't know if Parker's listening, but what is your gut on this? You've seen me do a lot of interviews. We're going right to the camera, guys, folks. Danny does all my videos. What are you feeling about this? Is it jiving for you, this whole story?
I love her message, and I think if she's just consistent with video content and get her message out there, and constantly doing it on social media, I would have no doubt that she would get into the right audience.
Yeah, he's no nonsense in this. He's not just saying that because you're here. He really, this is like a science for him, and he understands all the distinctions and everything else.
I appreciate the advice. Thank you.
Yeah, and just the thing is, what I would say is don't get caught up in views, likes, or
I know I'm moving past it. It's
so hard.
I can tell you, I feel bad for our kids because if it's hard for me and I'm in my mid to late 40s, these little minds, it's a mind game. Yeah. So anyway,
remember when we were in high school, now when kids are in high school, they'll send pictures of the kid that didn't get invited to the party. That's terrible, right? We didn't know.
You have to have thick skin now, thicker skin.
It's so crazy.
We talked about how sensitive we were when we were younger.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what a mess we would have been?
Yeah, no, I would have been. It would have been terrible. I would have been scared to look at it. Yep. Never mind.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't even have had a page.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, wow, I love the journey. So what's next here? What's our game plan?
Was there anything else that we missed? Let's say
we said we can go down, a rabbit hole of hours and hours worth of conversations.
Yeah, but you want to be able to drive folks to have and Joe, I know you would do free audits for people, right?
Always.
You're here to answer any questions, and I think that same thing. Whatever you're offering, anybody here that's liking anything, if you have any questions, ask it. If you want to go ahead and click the link below. Or kind of just sit down and talk to these folks. They're here for you.
Well, I think the key is ask. I tell people all the time. They're like, Lisa, you started this business. this is the deal. I know what I don't know, and I have no problem asking
Yep.
and finding someone who's an expert at it.
Yep.
So you have questions, ask Joe.
Yeah.
Or ask someone that you trust regarding, any of your benefit packages, whether you work for someone or whether you work for yourself.
Yeah.
Get creative.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Yeah.
They say no, and
Exactly.
then you haven't lost anything.
Yeah.
The other thing I will say is that I encourage people to really think about when it comes to, we know, like I said earlier, there's a connection between your financial welfare and your physical welfare,
Yeah.
right? How you feel.
But why
is
have all the
direct-
money if you're not in good shape?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And especially a lot of my friends, they're turning 50s and 60s and different diagnoses coming on. They spent all this time working so hard, saving all this money, and then they get something tragic that happens to them.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just starting the discussion for people to care about working all those hours is not going to mean a damn bit of anything if you do not take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So taking care of yourself means having the appropriate financial kind of cushion, insurance, savings, whatever, to take care of yourself.
Yep.
Aside from exercise, enjoy your family, eat well.
And preempt it by going to the doctors, to your point. Go check out as many doctors as you can if the health insurance is going to cover it.
I'm actually about to release a pamphlet on managing the relationship between the patient and doctor.
So is it going to be like a free? Is it going to be like a PDF free book?
It's free.
Yeah,
it's a
awesome.
free ebook.
Yeah,
That's
that
gonna be
works really
coming out
well. We get a lot of access with that.
So when people are nervous about going to the doctor, so I gave some tips on what to think about, how do you choose a doctor.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very valuable.
Yeah, so I've got a lot. Listen, I just want people to take care of themselves.
Awesome. And how can they reach you one last time?
So Lisa at secretsoflemons.com.
Yep.
Secrets of Lemons, the website.
Yep.
Or, send me a message on Instagram, Facebook. I'm available.
Yeah, and you're going to respond.
I'm very good at responding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Joe, what about you, brother?
So Joe at bmpg.net. And like I said, this conversation has brought a lot of, I would say, insight to me because of you and obviously Rob. But, just if I can get a point across of education, right? Know what you don't know, but don't be afraid to ask the questions, right? And I think that's probably the biggest thing is because you feel, oh, well, that person, because of the old days, they had a PPO or an HMO or I had a $5 that has all changed. And it changes every day. It changes monthly. It changes yearly.
Yeah.
And you got to, educate yourself on your healthcare and what's out there for you.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
what it comes down to.
Thank you guys so much for being here, and thanks for reaching out to me, Lisa. I'm so grateful, for this, and I'd love to have a playback maybe in 90 days and see I
was gonna say
what happened from
any
here.
Any questions? Any comments?
Absolutely.
Like if there's a hot topic that people want to learn about,
absolutely,
do it.
I would love to do that, and for all you folks, check it out. I mean, we always want to talk about how to turn decades into days in business. We always talk about modeling. If you want to be successful in whatever you do, model somebody that's been there, done that is still active and add 10% to it. It's no different here. It's like, okay, how do I make sure that my health is in order while increasing my wealth, and at the same time ask myself empowering questions while digging into my nervous system and really tapping into understanding the words that hit my brain, the emotion I'm going through as it hits. So when I understand my feelings attached to it, I'm presenting a certain presence to the world. And I felt that today. I mean, I know if you kind of play this back, you'll feel like inspiration, motivation, and you'll be able to see what it looks like from an entrepreneur standpoint, what it looks like to make sure that, hey, listen, I want to live to be 80, 90, 100 years old, but I want to be healthy, and I want to make sure that family first, because that's what I heard today, is really the most important thing to create that legacy. I want to thank you guys so much for everything. It was awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.